Hello and assalamu alaikum. May peace be with you. Welcome to my video. First of all, thanks for spending some time to watch my video. In this video, let me give you some quick overview. What we're gonna do, as with the title, you can see I'm gonna build a site-to-site VPN using NAT. And when I say NAT, so the task is to build a VPN between third party and our site. Excuse me, where our uh, VPN is going to terminate one of our firewall, which is internal firewall. You can see here there are two SRX I've deployed in the topology, and I'm trying to build ASA VPN with the ASA. Third party has the ASA, which is um, connected to our edge firewall. So this is our edge firewall or uh, perimeter firewall. So ASA can only see this firewall and does not have any visibility to the internal firewall. So how we're gonna build the VPN using this NAT? So this is the IP that we're gonna use for the NAT. So we have here trusted network, and there's one host I've put it here. This host need to talk to this host which is behind the ASA in a trusted network. So both need to talk on our IPsec VPN. And let's see and start how to configure this VPN. There is no config at the moment on this any of the firewall, so I'm gonna do this start with the from the zero config, and we're gonna do this config together. Let me give you some tasks that overview of on the tasks step by step what we're gonna do. First of all, we're gonna configure the interface configurations. Then we're gonna create zones on SRX firewall, and then basic routing. Then we are going to do the config for VPN configuration, where we're going to do the phase 1 and phase 2 configuration, and then finally we'll configure the policy to allow the traffic. So same task we're going to do on ASA as well. First we're going to do the interface config, then um, we're going to define the security levels, policy, then all the VPN config. So let's start. First of all, let's log into our console to one of the firewall. For this, I'm using this super putty. If you want to learn how to set up this super putty with this EVNG or Lab, I have another video, you can watch that. So this is our firewall. Which one is this? This is VSRX NG. This one is our internal firewall, and VSRX NG1 is our external firewall, and this is our ASA. Okay, let's start configuring our and I forgot to tell you about this internet. Actually, this is just to represent an ISP for internet connectivity. So these both firewalls, they are connected to their ISP, which I have configured as a router. Let's turn it on, and we're gonna configure this router as well within this lab. All right, let's start. So this is our SRX, which is the internal SRX. Whenever you'll start or turn these SRX on, normally they take a long time to boot up. Once they're boot up, so you will see this is the first screen you will see to log in into this SRX. To log in, you need username is root. This is the default user, and there is no password set for the very first time when you log in to the SRX firewall. once you log in and you start doing any configuration, then first thing you need to do is create a password for this root login. So if you press enter, you can see we are using Genus 19.2R1 version. So once you log in, this is your Linux shell. On this shell, you're not able to do much other than the Linux commands. ls-l, let's see. So this is just a Linux shell. So to get to the firewall, we need to drop into the operational mode. And to drop into operation mode, we need to remember the command that we need is CLI. This will drop us into the operational mode here. This is you can see the the prompt is changed from add the number sign to this greater than sign. So over here, if we can see show and then do question mark. So you can see these all are the configuration commands and operation commands that are available to use this on this firewall. Okay, to start with configuring this firewall, the very first thing you need to configure, as I told you, that you need to set up a root password. For that, we need to drop into the configuration mode. To drop into configuration mode, we need the command which is configure. The first three letters type, and then if you press tab, it will auto complete the command. Press enter. So now you can see now your prompt is again changed. There is a edit on the top and then root and hash sign. That's edit tells you that this you are in a configuration mode. All right, so first thing we need to do set up a password for the root password. Mind you, this is the default root user password. We're going to set for the command that we're going to use is set system and root authentication and then plain text. If you press enter, it'll ask you the password. Just use a simple password that you can remember. Verify. The password is set. Okay, he's saying password is not equal. Let's press up arrow, the same command, enter 786. All right, so this is set. Password is set, but if you want to exit from the configuration mode, let's press exit, so it will complain you that you have changed the configuration, but you have not saved. So in SRX series firewalls, any configuration that you do, actually, it doesn't go like Cisco firewalls straight into the running config. Actually, um, it creates a separate config file which is called a candidate config. So all the configuration that you do is actually you are doing those configuration changes into a candidate config, which is a separate config from the original running config. So until or unless you do not save, it does not apply the config onto your actual firewall. So here we're gonna say no because we need to save, and to save the config, we need to use the command is commit. And before we do commit, there's another command, commit check. This actually is a good command if you have missed any. Well, whenever you do commit, SRX series has a very good feature that it checks all the configuration syntax before it commits so, the configuration. If there is any missing config or mismatch or any inconsistency, so it's going to spit out, and we'll see this. So but commit check is a command to verify if there is any issue with the config. So if it says successful, so that means we are good to go. And then commit is the command that we're going to commit. This will save the config. All right. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do once we have saved the config, we're going to the very first thing on any firewall that you need is the basic thing, which is the configuring the interface. So to bring a firewall into your network, this is the basic thing you need to do. All right, so over here we can see um, in the topology we can see that we have two interfaces. They are connected to our internal, and then one interface is connected to our going towards external firewall. So let's see how do you check these interfaces. To check interfaces, let's first quit from the config mode and move back to the operational mode. So here, this is our operational mode, and to check what are the interfaces available, a command we can use is show interface trace. Press enter. So, so you can see there are lots of interfaces that are available here, and they can be confusing sometime for very first time users, but uh, to not we don't need to get confused. There are like lots of uh, interfaces that we even don't need to worry about, and all we need to see is what are our physical interfaces. And to identify the physical interface, all we need to do is we need to check the media type. So media type could be, let's say it's GE stands for gigabit, and then if it's FE is fast Ethernet, then I think XE is 10 gigabit. So yeah, so this is the media type. So we need to just see that which interfaces are starting, or even in the topology, you can see that this interface is starting with the gigabit interface, which is GE 0/0/2. So this the numbering, this zero, it's like uh, the place of the port or the interface on the chassis, on the physical chassis of the firewall. So over here we can see this is GE 0/0/0. So we have one physical interface, which one uh, is ending with zero, the port zero. And then we have these few other interfaces, but there we have two interfaces which are another physical interfaces. So if we can see the /2, the port number 2 and port number 1 um, is our these two interfaces. So we're gonna configure these two interfaces, and the IP addresses, we're gonna use these IP address streams. So let's start with configuration. Let's drop into the configuration mode again, configure. And the first thing I want to do is I want to change the host name as well. So let's give the name. The command we're going to use is set system, sorry, system host name. We say core SRX. So this is our core SRX, or we can say internal. Could be anything that according to your environment you can give. So press enter. So this is accepted command, and now we need to do the interface config. To do the interface config, we need to use the command set, and you can use question mark to find the other commands available. So this is it gives you the command, and then simple some small description of the command, what you can use this for command. And we're looking for security. Okay, interfaces, we're looking for interface. Okay, set interface, and then we can use again the question mark to find out what we need. So we need to configure now the, if you look at over here it's a bit not clear, but the very first thing you can see, it's saying you can give here the interface name as well. So we need to give the name of exactly the interface that we want to configure. So the tab would not work here. If I try to say gigabit internet hyphen 0 and press tab, so it will not autocomplete. We need to actually type it. So the best thing is we can go to our interfaces and we're going to configure the interface 1, port 1. Let's select this one, highlight, and then right click to paste it. So set interface de0/0/1, and then next command, if you press question mark, now you can see you have now multiple other options available. But the option we need, or we need unit, because we are going to set its unit 0. The unit 0, and it's just like a logical unit of this interface. So whenever you do configuration, you do configuration on the unit, either 0, 1, 2, 3. You can have uh, many unit, like it's kind of like sub interfaces, you can say. So we're going to use this unit 0, and then the next command we need is family. Then next command we need in inet, and then address. We need to remember this syntax because uh, because this is, once you are familiar with this, you will know this by heart. So set interface ge0 unit 0 family inet address, and now we can give the address if you right here. So address we're gonna give is 198.168.100.1, and the mask is 24/24, right? So it has accepted. If there was any error, it should have complained. Okay, so now we need to do the interface config for the external interface. So for that, either we can type again, or we can use the same command by pressing up arrow, and we just need to go and change to port 2, unit 0, exactly same, and then address, we need to give the address, which is 172.168.12.2, and then /30. Right, so this is done. All right, so these two interfaces configuration is done. Let's see if you want to see what changes you have done currently on the on this. I mean, at the moment, what changes you have done. There's a command, very good command you can use, is show pipe compare. So it will actually show you all these the config that you're going to add. So it tells you here this is added interface, so interface hierarchy. Then you are going to change the interface of ge0 slash port 1. Then in port 1 you're going to change the unit 0, and then in unit 0 you're going to use the family inet, which is IPv4 address, and then you're giving the address of 192.168.100.1/24. So you can see that how in a hierarchical form it shows you this config. Similarly, you can see edit interface. Under edit interface, we are configuring two interfaces. So these both interfaces, they are at the same hierarchical level. And then unit is at the same hierarchical. And then the family, inet, and then address. And these plus symbols means you are adding in this command. And let's say I have um, added in the host name as well, right? So let's say we commit this command and save. So commit there is another command I want to introduce here is commit confirm. So if you are doing any change that you are not certain that you might lose the connectivity, or it can affect your access to the firewall, and you still want to test, or there is a requirement that you want to do the configuration and you're not too sure that it might access, or you might cut off the your access, uh, then you can use this command commit confirm. Actually, this does not fully apply the config. It actually applies the config for a certain time, and within until that time, if you do not um, confirm or permanently commit this config, it will roll back to the previous config. So commit confirm, we can give the time. If you press question mark, so you can see here we can give the time. Let's say by default is 10 minutes. After 10 minutes it will roll back. But if I give you the command, let's say 2 and commit, you will see that it will commit the changes, and then it will give you the time period of 2 minutes to check if the configuration is right or has not affected any of your access or any issue in the network. So you can see the message, it says commit confirm will be rolled back in 2 minutes. So we can go exit, and then we can again check the interfaces. If the configuration is there, show interface trace command to see our interfaces. So here we are, or like we have configured. You can see that in this on this interface we are configuring unit 0, and the IP address we have assigned this one, and on unit interface port 2 unit 0 we have assigned this IP address. And we can also say show interface, and we can give that interface name. So it will give you the full detail of the interface. You can see here a lot of detail. We are not going to uh, go in detail, but because I don't want this video to be very long, and we're gonna stick to the the VPN config. So let's first of all commit, because we have only 1 minute left. It's gonna roll back the our config. We don't want to lose the config. So go back to configure, and then finally, if you want to save, then you can use commit command to save it permanently. So now our config is saved, and we have assigned these IP addresses. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to create zones. So zones are quite important in the SRX firewall. Without zones, we cannot do anything. We cannot create a policy. Yeah, so zones are very important in SRX firewalls. All right, so zones, let's say this zone is our trusted network. So this is our trusted network, and this one is our untrusted. This is all right. So let's say this is our trusted network, and this one is our untrusted. And this one we can say, let's say we name it as a transit network. Right? So We're going to create on the internal firewall two zones. One is going to be our trusted zone, and the other one we're going to create is uh, like transit zone. And then when we're configuring the external firewall, we're going to configure this as untrusted zone. So zones, the concept actually originated from the screen OS, and zone is more or less it's just like a logical construct of uh, right. Uh, Security zones offers uh, right. Let's go to the CLI and create our zones. Let me get rid of this. Clear this first. Okay, and okay. So this is our core SRX firewall, and we are already in config mode. And the zones, two of the zones that we're going to create is one is trusted, the other one is transit zone. So if we look at, if you want to check what zones are currently configured on this firewall. So by default, actually the SRX comes with two zones, which is one is trusted and other one is untrusted. So how do we want to check that? We can use the command show security zones. If we press enter, okay, you can see question mark. We can see there are two zones, and if we can, there's another way we can see. Let's say run show configuration security zones. Right, so you can see there are two security zones. One is trusted, and then one is the untrusted. So at the moment, there is not much in there. So whenever you zone itself is nothing until or unless you add some interface into it. Like here, this interface is connected into the trusted zone. So once we gonna, let's say we have a trusted zone here, so this interface is um, going to be added into our trusted zone, and then we're going to create a separate zone which is a transit, which is not at the moment present, and then we're going to add this interface into the transit zone. How we do it? Let's do that configuration. Let's create first zone. To create a new zone is set security zone, and then security zone, and then if you then we're going to use the, like we can give the name or you can press question mark. You can see there are two zones, and then it's asking to give a name for the new one. Let's say transit zone, or you can say transit zone, right, and press enter. So it has created the zone show pipe compare. You can see this is going to be added, and now next thing we need to do is we need to add our interface that we want into this transit zone. For this we're going to use set security zone, and then security zone, then transit. So this is our transit zone that we're going to create. We have already going to create and save now in our config, and we're going to use interface and the name of the interface that we want to add. So we're going to add GE, press tab, and we're going to add GE port 1, GE01, yes. So this is our interface, and similarly if we can use up arrow, or you can write command again, or all we're going to do is we're going to change the zone. We're going to get rid of the zone and then press trusted. So here we go. This is the trusted zone is selected, and the interface that we're going to add into our trusted zone is going to be port 2. All right, so this is done. Again, we're going to commit. and then see the config of this zone. It's saved, commit is complete. If we get exit and then we do show configuration security zone, press enter. Oh, we can do here. All right, so you can see here now we have a security zone trust, and in trust we have an interface that is added into this security zone, which is GE0/0/2, and then we have untrusted, which we are not using. There's no interface into there. We don't need that at the moment. And then we have a transit zone that we have created, and the interface that we added into this transit zone is GE0/0/1. Okay, so now we have completed two of the tasks. So let's do these two tasks or onto the ASA firewall as well, so that we can have some basic connectivity. Now, let's go to the edge firewall and do the same configuration first. Right, this is our edge firewall. So you can see I have, to save time, I have already configured this firewall, and we can verify in the interface IP addresses. You can see we have already given the host name, show interface trace to check the interfaces. So this is our GE0/0, this interface, and I have already configured this, the host IP address .2, and then this is internal interface, which I have configured already here. And then let's see if we have security zones. Show command we're going to use is show configuration security zone. There you can see we have trust. We're not There's no interface in the trust zone because this is not connected to the trust zone. This is connected to actually untrust and transit zone. So security zone untrust, we have untrust here, GE0/0/0, and you can see this interface is part of the untrust. Similarly, we have another security zone which is created as DMZ, and then we have a transit zone over this zone, and this interface port 1 is part of the transit zone. Right, so let's if you want to delete some config, or let's say over here I have created this DMZ zone. If I want to delete this zone, how do I do that? So let's go back to the configure, and then to delete anything or any command, actually you need to use the keyword delete. All right, so then you need to know what you are going to delete. You need to actually type in the full command that you are interested to delete. So let's say if I want to delete this DMZ security zone, and then how do I do that? So actually you need to type delete security zone, security, then security zone, and then press question mark and then select DMZ. This is how you can delete. So let's say you want to delete some other bunch of like statements. So are you gonna type all of those? So that's not the feasible or possible. So there's a better way of doing that, which is, let's say if I want to delete, let's exit first and we go operation mode. If I want to delete some interface like this security zone, so I can do right here, like I can first find out what the configuration is that I want to delete. So for that I can check show, let's say show configuration, then security zone, and let's say the security zone, then we use a pipe sign and then use a very good command, which is display set. What it does, actually, it's going to give you the commands for all of these security zones. If we press enter right here, you can see this is all the commands or configs that we have set for these zones. You can see here set security zone, trust, and then untrust, then here it is DMG that we wanted to delete. And then these are, let's say there are a bunch of statements you want to delete. You can copy them and then you can take them into a notepad and then paste in here and then you replace it with find and replace set with delete, right? So replace all. Okay, so this is all. And then we can get rid of this. Let's say we don't want this because we can take this, copy, and then paste in, then paste in, right? So this is how we normally delete any configuration that we want to get rid of. So this is what I'm going to delete. Just check show pipe compare again. So here you can see now this is with the sign of minus. That means you are removing this statement. So now let's commit. All right, so this firewall is also ready. Interfaces and zones are configured. Don't want to save. Now let's do check that if our this router is configured. Okay, enable show interface trace. Oh no trace. So this is not this is Cisco. Show IP interface brief. This is not SRX. All right, so I have already configured this. So this Ethernet 0/0. This interface is connected with the ASA. So 188.84.131.1 is assigned to this, and then 0 Ethernet 0/1 0/1 is connected with SRX, and 168.64.1.1 is assigned to this interface. Right, so we are okay, done. So if we let's go to the ASA, see that if we have configured ASA as well, looks like I have already configured ASA. Right, so enable, no password, show interface IP brief. All right, so yes, I have already configured that, but I'll give you some overview that how I did it. To configure anything, this is you need to go to configure mode. Sorry, configure T, and then if you want to do interface, you can go to the interface. It's quite simple. SRX is a little bit weight to start with. That's why I wanted to do the SRX config with you guys. And Cisco, I think quite a lot of people are familiar with Cisco, so that's why I didn't bother. I just configured already to save the time. You can do, let's say, interface and then name of the interface gigabit and 0/0 enter /0 enter, and then the IP address. All right, so to save time, actually I have already configured it. So all we're gonna do is I'm gonna do the all right. So let's go. All right, let's go and check our firewall if ASA is configured. It looks like it's configured. I can see the host name, show interface IP brief. Yes, so this is also configured. The interface is also configured. So I have already configured because ASA is quite most of the people, they are familiar with how to configure ASA. So it's basic interface configuration and some security levels I've just defined. So, but I'm still need to do the config for the IPsec VPN. So we're gonna do this together. Let's go back to our SRX and start doing the configuration for the VPN.